What do you really need? As Christmas approaches, we spend a lot of time thinking about presents. What do I get my family? What do I get my friends? What do they want? And as I get older, what do they really need? What do we learn from hardships and struggles? Why do believers still suffer? Now, this is a really big topic and one we can't really fully discuss here, but we are going to look at what the Apostle Paul says about it in Philippians 4:10-14. Go ahead and pause the video and read these verses. You'll find a link to it in the video description below, so go ahead and pause and read Philippians 4 verses 10-14. Have you ever heard or seen Philippians 4:13 used to justify our actions or desires? I think I've seen it on graduation cards where they'll write out Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Now, is this just a word of encouragement or justification to do whatever we want? Well, when you look at the context, this idea starts to seem a bit flimsy. What is Paul describing in this passage? And how does this fit in with the letter to the Philippians? We talked yesterday about living with the God of peace, how God is the one who sets the standard for truth and excellence through his revelation. Now, I usually think it seems pretty easy just to say, follow my example as I live for God. But then when you think that's the Apostle Paul who's saying this, the difficulty just shoots through the roof. Look at what Paul writes about his life in verse 12. I know how to get along with humble means, and I also know how to live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having an abundance and suffering need. If you've read the book of Acts, you know that after Paul's conversion, he had a lot more hunger and suffering and not so much filling and abundance. He's very clear the Christian life isn't easy. So with this context, verse 13 is not just about doing great things because God is with us. It's about struggling through the hardness of life, knowing that the power to endure comes from God and not ourselves. And this fits into the broader context as well. Verses 10 and 14 remind us that this is about the shared experience of the Christian life. Paul's been talking about church unity, and here we see how the church in Philippi has been working with Paul to spread the gospel. God's power is at work in the individual who follows him, as well as the church, the believing community. And what they both need is God's power to live for him. So as we think about this passage and God's power to overcome, let's be asking, what causes my pain and suffering? Am I content with God's power? Do I look to God for strength and endurance?